when people ask me, talk about it, I almost have no tolerance for it because it's not that hard to just do some basic reading. Shoot, take a trip out to Boston, and everything out there is established in the foundations of Christian worldview. Everything. You can't walk without seeing it.
Dave, what do you think about my argument, which I think is pretty obvious, that this whole separation of church and state thing has been conflated, misused, misguided, that anything that Jefferson and the founders were actually talking about and what the Constitution and the Establishment Clause is talking about is like, no, we don't want the government messing with these churches. Now, you churches, y'all make sure y'all keep an eye on the government and influence the churches. They saw that as a good thing, and we should too. And that's like the whole basis of Tony's book, which I love, is like, no, we need to return God to the government, make the government adhere to what God says and what Christians believe and think and say, and make sure that the government doesn't interfere with the church. We've got the whole thing backwards.
Absolutely. When people bring up the argument, this separation of church and state, and whether or not, the government was influenced from Christians and they were all paid, it's such an asinine argument, to be honest with you, Jason. It's one I have hardly any tolerance for because I know those people aren't reading or doing any basic study. I mean, when you look at the Revolutionary War itself, the very thing that, the war for independence, that what we were doing here, they called it the Presbyterian Rebellion. Okay, like that's what they called it. And there was a reason for that because of the way that they understood humanity and man and God. They knew that you couldn't treat human beings this way, and that the king had overstepped his boundaries according to the authority that God had given him, and how the king should operate with those authorities and who he should defend with those authorities. And because he wasn't acting Christ-like from the authority that was given him, we had to rebel. It was the only option that we had if we were going to be good Christians, because he's overstepped his authority. And we need to set up a government that sees its authority properly and serves its people based on the nature's God. And so when people ask me, talk about it, I almost have no tolerance for it because it's not that hard to just do some basic reading. Shoot, take a trip out to Boston, and everything out there is established in the foundations of Christian worldview. Everything. You can't walk without seeing it. You can't go to Virginia without seeing it. And so I find it hilarious that somehow we are able to find slavery in everything that we've done in our founding documents, but we can't seem to find God. It's just hilarious.